Republican pollster and Trump campaign senior advisor, Kellyanne Conway, who joins us from New York. Kellyanne, I am looking at my Twitter, and it says there that a reporter by the name of Jonathan Karl is reporting that Donald Trump has offered the VP slot to Mike Pence. Is that true?
I cannot confirm that. What the campaign is saying, if you want to know who Donald Trump's VP is, then you have to show up at the Hilton or put a TV on around 11 a.m. tomorrow. Okay,
Kellyanne, I know you're someone who is very familiar with a lot of the people on Donald Trump's short list. Just give us the case for Mike Pence. Not saying that he is the pick, but what's the case for Pence? What does he bring to the ticket?
Sure. So the case for Mike Pence is a couple of things. He showed the other night at the rally that one can attack the candidacy of Hillary Clinton, challenge her fitness to be president, but to do it at 6 decibels, to do it surgically and methodically and yet passionately. The Rust Belt is very important. I think Mike Pence can do something like take a comment by Hillary Clinton that she made in West Virginia, promising to put the coal industry out of business and travel that comment westward through Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa. Doesn't mean that you win all those states, but you sure make them competitive. He's also got a $2 billion surplus in Indiana, across-the-board tax relief for employers and for individuals, a large charter school expansion program, a lot of infrastructure development. The economy is going very well in Indiana, and he's created manufacturing jobs, which is something that Donald Trump has said he would like to do as president, and many people are skeptical about that. Like, oh, you can't create manufacturing jobs. In Indiana, under Governor Pence's leadership, they've done that. Pence also checks the Washington box. He spent 12 years in Congress. 10 of those were on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And the last term in Congress before he successfully went home to run for governor, Mike Pence spent as the communications person in leadership for the Republican Party. He was on TV ubiquitously, the face of the party, has a great line, I'm a conservative, but I'm not in a bad mood about it. I think the conservative movement, the Republican Party, particularly in a very negative election cycle, could really use more positive, uplifting, inspiring spokespeople.
Kellyanne, talk about Mike Pence's personality, which is underrated in terms of his sense of humor and kind of how outgoing he is. I think a lot of people who only view him casually through the national prism look at him as kind of a stiff, which he's not.
He's not a stiff. In fact, he's very funny. He had a radio show, which, as you both know, is very difficult in Indiana for many years. He referred to himself as Rush Limbaugh on decaf because he is a little bit more measured and laid back. Those of us on the East Coast can't always relate to someone, or at least I can't, to someone who is reflective and not reactive, who thinks about it. And I even think recently Mike Pence made a couple of comments about the state of the race that seemed to me much more measured and much more unique in their content and their cast than maybe what I think garden variety commentators were saying. Also, I think Mike Pence will help on the policy part. You know, Donald Trump is really moving into areas of policy. You saw the 10-point plan to reform the Veterans Administration this past Monday in Virginia Beach, very specific, concrete. I think he's somebody who can help with that. He's also very well respected by members he served with in Washington. And also, I want to point out 2 quick things. One is, people missed this comment by Senator Jeff Flake in the Hill newspaper today, where Jeff Flake was very glowing about his friend and former colleague in the House, Mike Pence. Jeff Flake is the senator from Arizona last week who was pretty salty toward nominee Trump when he had his meeting in the Senate. Some people thought it was a bit disrespectful, but it definitely was confrontational. You get someone like Mike Pence on the ticket, and I think it's another window into getting the nominee, part of that party unity in all corners. Secondly, the donors and the consultants in the Never Trump movement are longtime friends and longtime supporters of Governor and Congressman Mike Pence. And so the question to them now is, this was the first major decision by the nominee in terms of personnel. What say you about someone you've worked with and you've trusted, Governor Pence, for a very long time?
So tell us a little bit. I'm continuing with my feature interview here because the country's going to have to get to know this guy, presumably starting tomorrow. Talk about the Pence family, Mrs. Pence and their children, and what kind of family they are.
Well, I love the Pence family. Karen Pence and Mike Pence have been married for about 31 years. They have 3 children. Michael, who's recently engaged and who serves this nation and is stationed in Florida. And Charlotte and Audrey, their 2 daughters. The Pences consider themselves, quote, empty nesters. Their children are all in their mid to early 20s. And they're a very close family. They're a very tight-knit family. They make decisions together. I think it was reported that their one daughter was with them when they came out to Bedminster to meet the Trump family several weeks ago. And they also, I think the Trumps made a decision when their children were very small. I think their children were ages 4, 5, and 6 when he got to Congress, if I'm correct. And they made the decision to be together as a family in the Washington suburbs, to raise the children there so that they had dinner together every night. I think that's very sweet and very much who they are. They also are very active. I think Karen Pence, as First Lady of Indiana, has really kept a lot of her own schedule and been there. She's a very popular speaker, very popular personality and individual leader in Indiana. And I think as the country gets to know them, they'll very much enjoy them and like them. And I think that's also why, as has been reported in many places, that the official vetting of Governor Pence was, fairly clean.